Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Salamun ala al-mursaleen. Respected listeners, tomorrow the media will be remembering 9/11, which happened 20 years ago. And as Muslims, there is no second word. Islam condemns the loss of life, the tragic incident that took place on the 9/11, where 2,977 people lost their lives. However, today I want to focus on the aftermath of 9/11. What took place after 9/11? So on 9/11, 2,977 people lost their lives. But in result of this, when George Bush announced a crusade, 134 countries were involved on the so-called War of Terror. 801,000 Muslims have lost their lives over the past 20 years. 37 million people have been displaced because of the war on terror. The USA have spent $6.4 trillion on the war on terror. So just like it's our duty to abhor, to condemn the appalling attacks of 9/11, within the same right as Muslims, we must condemn the narrative that has been pushed by the media and by the countries involved in the so-called war of terror. Because tomorrow, when the media and countries commemorate the firefighters and the loss of lives, as Muslims we say that the life of a Muslim at the very least should be equal to the life of a person living in the West. But we know there are double standards here. And those who know of my work will know that whenever there is a incident, even within the UK, where we had the Streatham terror attack, you'll find my name on a press release condemning the act. So, as a Muslim scholar, we are going to condemn any act that Muslims do wrong. But at the same time, we are not going to turn a blind eye to the war crimes committed by nations against Muslims. And the war of terror has resulted in places like Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib prison, invasion of Iraq, invasion of Afghanistan. So there are non-Muslims who have got together and said, what happened on 9/11 was truly despicable, but it does not justify what happened after 9/11. So we have groups like the Stop the War Coalition, and as Muslims we should support these groups, people who may not share the same faith as us, but they share the same vision, where even they have a march of 1 million people calling for the governments not to go to war. So these are the people whose ideals align with ours when it comes to war in other countries. And it's not just, my friends, led to a loss of life, but we know of CIA torture programs, drone assassination. Now we all know that these are happening. We all know. But friends, we have become desensitized to Muslim loss of life. And this is reality. So if tomorrow a drone takes out a family in Afghanistan, children, women and adults, but there is a loss of life in another country which is closer to us, we will feel more alarmed at the loss of life in a Western country than we will feel at the loss of a life in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in any other place. Why? Because we have been listening to the media day in and day out, and the media have told us indirectly that the life of a Muslim is not the same value of a life of a person living in the West. It's a fact. Almost every week we hear of Muslims' life lost in Afghanistan and other Muslim countries, but it's just another news article to me and you. So our duty as Muslims, my friends, is that we feel the pain of any loss of life. And this is what I'm calling today. That we feel the pain of the loss of life of anyone living in the UK. So if something happens in the UK, we feel the loss. A couple of days ago, a Muslim youngster at the age of 22 from Bradford, he set himself on fire and committed suicide. Now naturally, because it's close to home, we feel the pain. And we should. Bi-idhnillah ta'ala, I will address mental health in another khutbah. But just as we feel the pain of loss of life in the UK, we feel the loss of life when something happens in France. It's our duty, it's the demand of our faith that we feel the loss of life, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, throughout the world. This is my call to justice. That as Muslims, we need to be just and we need to be fair. The media may not be fair, but as Muslims, it's our moral and religious, our dini duty to feel the pain of loss of life throughout the world. And the war on terror has not just led to loss of life, but it's also led to certain legislations by governments throughout the world targeting Muslim minorities. So we look at China in East Turkestan, how they've applied certain legislation because of the so-called war on terror, and they've used that to subdue the Muslim population in China. And even in the UK, we've suffered the effects of 9/11. As the statement goes, that every day is a 9/11 for the Muslim community. And that's not to downplay the tragic loss of 9/11, but it's to say that almost on a daily basis, Muslim lives are being affected by the war on terror. So we have, even in the UK, we have Schedule 7, those who are aware, at airports, we have Prevent in our schools. So we know these stories are taking place where our children are scared to announce their Muslimness. Now there was research carried out that 23% of US youth, so Muslim youth who were born in America, 23% of them no longer identify as Muslim. Now, what's the cause of this? I believe primarily the cause is the aftermath of 9/11 and the war on terror. Our children don't want to express their faith. They feel alienated. They don't announce they're Muslim. Now, many adults who go to work, on your badge, your name is Muhammad and it's Mo. Your name is something and it is Sid. Why? Because we have this, we feel alienated. We feel shy to announce our Muslim name. As men, we should feel ashamed. Wallahi, we should feel ashamed that we expect our Muslim sisters to wear the niqab and hijab, and we cannot even announce our name on our work tag. We should have shame in ourselves. I was going to Tesco a couple of weeks ago, and I was wearing a pagri, and I was just about to change my pagri for a topi. I thought, I'm going to Tesco, log kya kahenge? Then I thought to myself, have some shame. Your mother, your sister and your Muslim sisters go shopping with hijab and niqab on, and you cannot even wear pagri. Hame sharam hona chahiye. This is our duty, my friends. That there's been a loss of life, but there's been also draconian laws against Muslims. And please, I urge parents, talk to your children, because when we grew up it's different, and when our children growing up today is different. Can you imagine growing up as a child and the only thing you hear about your faith is terrorism? It's hard for our children growing up Muslim, because their faith has been connected to every bad word in the dictionary. So talk to your children. Talk to them about these ideas I've addressed today in the khutbah. Talk to them about the double standards of the media, so that our children feel empowered and our children feel proud over their faith. So I finish, as Muslims, what is our duty? Our duty number one is to stand against injustice wherever it may take place. My friends, as Muslims living in the West, we are very limited in what we can do. And as Imams, we always say that whatever we do must stay within the law of the land. We must never break any law. And we don't call for violence. But at the same time, we must do what we can do. We must do what we can do. So if we can join coalitions like Stop the War Coalition, give them donations, go to rallies. There are certain things that we can do within our power. At least on the day of Qiyamah, we can say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I did what I could do within my power. Secondly, we should call upon governments, officials, agencies to acknowledge the war crimes that have taken place. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah.